Good evening, everyone. We will now begin the evening service of the Miroku Association headquarters, expressing our gratitude to God and Meishu-sama for blessings and protection received while participating in the construction of paradise on earth. Amatsu-Norito and Miroku Prayer, please stand. Taka amahara ni kansamarimasu. Kamurogi kamuromi no mikoto mochite. Sumeni oya kamuri sana gino mikoto. Tsukushi no imuka no tachi hanano. Odono hawagi harani misogi harai kamo toki ni narimaseru. Harai dono kami tachi moro moro no magagoto tsumigerare wo. Harai kamae kiyome tamae tomao sukoto no yoshio. Amatsu kami kunitsu kami aoyorozu no kami tachi tomoni ame no fuchi koma no nimi furitatete hikoshime seto kashikomi mo maosu. Miroku o mikami mamori tamae saki hae tamae. Miroku o mikami mamori tamae saki hae tamae. Oshie mi oya nushi no kami mamori tamae saki hae tamae. Oshie mi oya nushi no kami mamori tamae saki hae tamae. Kum nagara tamachi haemase. Kum nagara tamachi haemase. Great God of light, creator and giver of all life, in accordance with your divine will, the long age of night draws to an end. Your radiant divine light, shining ever more brilliantly, awakens the dawn of the glorious age of light, a time long awaited by all humanity. We thank you for guiding us to your divine plan and for the privilege of channeling and receiving Johrei. May our spirits and bodies be illuminated and purified as we live your truth given to us by Meishu-sama. Make us pure and effective instruments of your divine light, so that we may serve you and all those with whom we come in contact. May paradise on earth be realized, with health, peace, and prosperity, a reality in our lives. Great God of light, bless and protect us. Radiate our souls with your divine light, so that we may truly become instruments of your great plan. Please be seated. We will now receive Group Johrei.
May God have Meishu-sama bless you.
Johrei is now concluded. We now listen to a reading from Meishu-sama's teachings. Eternal life. By repeating the process of birth and death, the human soul learns and grows until it attains eternal happiness. Those who preach the way but have little understanding of life after death themselves speak meaningless, empty words. Foolish are those who proclaim there is no God, for they do not realize how they themselves came into existence. In leaving this world and passing through the gate of death, a human being sheds its clothing of flesh. The flesh belongs to this world, and the spirit to the spiritual world. As a result of aging or illness, the physical body degenerates to the point where it is no longer serviceable. whereupon the spirit abandons this useless physical burden and goes to the spiritual world. There, it must prepare for rebirth into this world. This preparation is purification.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining the evening service of the Miroku Association headquarters. This evening, I want to share the faith experience from Selene Piecum Oliva. She's from São Bernardo, Johrei Center, Brazil. Selene is 50 years old and she has been a Johrei member for 8 years. She has a 30-year-old brother who suffers from epilepsy, intellectual and motor impairments, among other neurological problems. He had episodes of aggression in which he often broke things at home. Her mother took care of him and gave him the necessary assistance. However, in May 2019, she made her transition to the spiritual realm, and Selene took responsibility for her brother. At that time, he was taking 10 pills a day. The arrival of the quarantine as a result of the pandemic, she realized that the difficulties had increased. He was very agitated as he missed school, social life, and their mother. Selene had to take him to the hospital for tranquilizers. She would channel Johrei him and read Meishu-sama's teachings daily. At the beginning of May 2020, she had the idea of suggesting tasks to her brother so that he could be busy and entertained with something productive. She thought of asking him to read and transcribe the divine writings. With each sentence read, he should write it in a notebook. Although she was aware that due to his intellectual shortcomings, it would be impossible for him to understand what he was writing, she was certain that his spirit would absorb the light emanating from the sacred words contained in the teachings of Meishu-sama. In this way, they start doing these activities every day. He was very excited and carried them out diligently. Thus, he filled 3 entire notebooks. Within the first few weeks of practice, she began to notice considerable improvements in his behavior. He was every day happier and more relaxed, started to show more affection with hugs, kisses, and affectionate gestures. They started having lively conversations and even riding their bikes together. He developed a skill and a taste for reading, and today he loves the teachings of Meishu-sama and children's literature. He, who is also a member, began to channel Johrei. With the gradual reopening of the Johrei Center, he is engaging in dedications. He currently takes only 2 pills a day, and his intellectual and emotional condition is excellent. He went back to school, and his performance in studies is much more satisfactory. Selene was able to prove to herself that reading Meishu-sama's teachings is receiving Johrei through the words, and that such practice provides spiritual and physical purification for us. Another experience I want to share with you this evening is from Eliana Lúcia Matias dos Santos Pascoal. She's from the Poá Johrei Center, which is in the area of Mogi das Cruzes, Brazil. Eliana is 70 years old. She suffers from arthrosis and felt a lot of pain, as well as atrophy on some parts of her body. She was always very vain, but she hadn't worn shoes for 5 years. She could barely have manicure and pedicure sessions, and her fingers and toes were deformed, as well as hurting intensely. In May 2021, this year, seeing the distressing situation she found herself in, Eliana's manicurist asked if she could say a prayer called Johrei for her. Eliana accepted even without knowing exactly what it was. She received Johrei for 15 minutes and experienced an incredible joy. That night she slept very well, something that hadn't happened in a long time. She was impressed because after that day, the pains in her body disappeared and she continued to sleep very well. The following week, the manicurist returned to Eliana's house to have her nails done and have her Johrei to her again. She suggested for Eliana to receive the next Johrei in the church to express gratitude and also because there, at the center, the light would be more intense. Thus, days later, she went to the Johrei Center to receive her third Johrei, which was also channeled by her manicurist. Then she went to talk to the minister, who instructed her to receive as much Johrei as possible. The minister also talked about the importance of giving back to others what we receive from God. Encouraged by the changes that had taken place in such a short time, Eliana started going to the Johrei Center 3 times a week. After about a month, upon waking up in the morning, she was surprised to find that her fingers were normal. She was very happy and realized that it was a miracle from God and Meishu-sama. With that, she started doing housework and other activities without pain and with greater mobility. In addition to her incredible physical improvement, her behavior also changed. She used to be grumpy and was constantly irritated, which caused family friction. By receiving Johrei regularly, she stopped complaining, was calmer, more patient. With that, the atmosphere in her home became much more harmonious. Everything happened at the same time very quickly. Therefore, she wanted to know more about Johrei in our faith. She took the membership course, and the more she became acquainted with the divine writings, the more she increased her gratitude to God and Meishu-sama. Sprouted in her the desire to give Johrei to family, friends, or anyone who was undergoing purification. Thus, she was blessed to receive the sacred focal point Ohikari less than 2 months after receiving her first Johrei. Today, she is immensely happy and fulfilled. She went back to wearing shoes and having her nails done without difficulty. As a way to give back to God and Meishu-sama, she's doing her best to channel, introduce Johrei and happiness to as many people as possible. She has already guided granddaughter to the divine work, and she's assisting a friend who was very interested in joining our faith. Eliane is very grateful to God, Meishu-sama, and her manicurist who introduced Johrei and the way to salvation to her. Thank you very much for listening to this wonderful faith experiencing, for attending this evening service. I wish a very wonderful evening. This Sunday, we have the appreciation service of our national headquarters, 11 a.m. Eastern Time. If you live locally by any means, try to join us in person or attend our service online from our Facebook page, from our YouTube channel, or through Zoom. Thank you very much.
This brings to a conclusion our evening service. Thank you, everyone, for joining us, and have a blessed evening.